of the ideas that scientists come up with in trying to explain the origin of the universe, the origin of life, they sound pretty wacky, don't they? And it's the sort of thing that, I mean, certainly the origin of the universe, it's hard to conceive of how there would ever be evidence to back some of those ideas up. And I know, for instance, in the God delusion, you refer to the multiverse theory, for instance, and the idea that there are universes within universes within universes, and that perhaps it might be possible to think of a situation where we all existed in many different universes at the same time. And there's a line in the God delusion which has been thrown back to you rather scornfully a few times about there are universes in which we are already dead and universes in which we have a green moustache.
Yes.
And this tends to get thrown back at you as if to say, well,
okay,
hang on, you can believe that, but
there's
you
a little
can't
bit
believe
of
God.
confusion here. There are two entirely physicists, and I'm not one, and there may be plenty of them here, I expect there are. Physicists use this idea of many universes in two quite different ways. The green moustache way is used by quantum theorists of a certain kind who, you know, in quantum theory there's extremely weird results. Particles going through two slits at once, and Schrödinger's cat either being dead or alive, and neither until you open the box, that kind of thing. Now, there is one school of thought, the many universes school of thought, not so much school of thought, school of interpretation of what's going on in the quantum weird experiments, which says there are many universes, and in some of the universes Schrödinger's cat is dead, in other universes Schrödinger's cat is alive.